Hi, my name is Marjorie, and I'm a documentary-style newborn and family photographer. Parenthood is such a wonderful adventure, but it can feel lonely sometimes. So many experiences we go through are never really talked about. I wanted to create a space where parents can openly discuss their challenges, their successes, and their journeys. This is the resource I wish I had when I first became a mom. This is I Wish I Knew, a series on parenthood.
Hi, my name is Catherine. This is Eric. We have a 2.5-year-old son, Sterling.
From the time she was about 3 or 4 months pregnant, I knew I was all in. We had got a little bit of news. He has a heart condition where we're at somewhere between 3 and 4 years old. We're gonna have to go in for heart surgery. They tell us that it's not that big of a deal, especially when they do it that young, and it's much more traumatic for the parents, which I 100% believe. But there wasn't when he was born, there wasn't a new sense of, oh my God, this kid was here. I know for myself, I was already there 3, 4 months. Because I remember standing in the parking garage crying that day when we found that out, because that's just not a fun day, right? But I know in the hospital, he had to go have a lot of tests because of that heart condition, and then everything else the newborns go through. I didn't leave his side at all. Wherever he was, I was. And
that was comforting because then it allowed me to just focus on healing and getting better.
And then it also gives you an idea of just how terrified you're gonna be for the rest of your life, forever. This is not, it's not like you get through that problem and then, we're good. No, till you die and your child is still alive, you are gonna be just terrified.
After Sterling was born, my cesarian got infected and they had to reopen it. And it was awful. It was so awful. It was the hardest. And also I had thank goodness we had the cesarian, because I ended up getting pathological engorgement. I had 2 women pushing and physically pumping my breasts. And Eric's just sitting there like, oh my God, what's happening? And it was just so painful, and they were purple, and I had ice packs everywhere. So the pathological engorgement plus the cesarian, having to go back to the hospital, they had to cut it open again. They weren't gonna restitch it. Yeah. So Eric had to, twice a day for 5 weeks, clean it out. So they shoved it they stuffed gauze inside of me, and then every day he'd have to pull out all the gauze. It was like a magic show.
It was
so much gauze.
7 feet. Because what I would do is I'd measure my forearm twice, and it was like 1/4 inch gauze. It was a lot. And by the way, none of that. I went back and looked. Not in a single baby book. No, nobody warned you for that one.
And so he would have to pull out all the gauze. I'd have to then go in the shower, clean it out with saline spray, get out of the shower, and then he'd have to shove gauze back in using one of those long Q-tips and repack it.
Yeah, all the way inside underneath the belly part.
And then bandage it, and then once a week I had to go back to Cedars, and they would remove the gauze and scrape out the wound, because I guess the fresh blood allows for healing. And so that was literally the first 5 weeks of being home. I loved it. It wasn't at all what I expected it to be. You hear these romantic stories of, you're holding your baby and you're crying and you're looking at each other, and music and birds and sunshine, and I was so I couldn't, I enjoyed it, but not as much as I thought I would, just because I wanted him to be safe. And I thought, okay, as much as I want to hold him, he needs to go somewhere else, and somebody else needs to hold him. So maybe I held him for a minute or 2.
Yeah.
I first really got to enjoy him post-op. We're waiting for my room, and Eric's with me, a nurse is with me, and I'm laying on the gurney, and Sterling is on me, and he starts to nurse for the very first time. And that was so cool. It was the best. And that was really when I got to explore with him what this is like, what it feels like, and really hold him and be present with him.
We've been working on it for about the last 6 months. Starting to, and this one's not as easy. With our first, it just happened. And I know I felt bad for our friends who were struggling. And this one's taken a lot more effort. Having to go to the fertility specialists, looking at IVF or what?
IUI.
IUI. Also understanding that we're older. We were considered geriatric parents when we went through the first child, and now we're years later. Knowing the percentages and what happens to your body, it's taken a little more work.
I'm frustrated. Frustrated because of the fear of it not happening. Frustrated that, we may not be able to give Sterling a sibling. I feel like we're doing everything right, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. So yeah.
I want another kid. I do. And we're willing to put in a lot of time and effort into growing the family. But if all I ever have is Sterling, that's still pretty awesome. And you gotta be grateful for, what you do have. He's amazing. Don't be discouraged by setbacks, because they're gonna happen. You're gonna have to deal with something. It's almost inevitable. And honestly, every single parent that I know has dealt with something. The awesome part is you don't know what it's gonna be. Like, there's no way to know. But you're gonna have to deal with something. And when that something comes, you kind of gotta roll with it. Understand who the people are around you that do care for you and where help is, and then not be afraid or ashamed to admit that you're having a problem or an issue and accept help.
A friend organized a food train for us, which I don't think we would have gotten through without that food train. I mean, that was the only food we were eating sometimes. Whatever meal they brought, like, oh yeah, we gotta eat. That's a thing. And then when they would come and drop off food, they would clean, maybe do some dishes. That was everything. And we were not really up for getting help before we had Sterling.
Yeah.
We could do it. We could do everything. We got it. And when Sterling was born, our tribe just really showed up for us, and we were willing to accept all that help. We were so fortunate to have been part of our parents' group, and I think that really got us through some of the hardest times. But you're not alone. Reach out. Just reach out for help.
And that you guys pretty much want the same thing, even if how you feel you need to get there is different. You are on the same team.
So just knowing it's going to be difficult, allowing it to be difficult, and then moving forward, and giving your partner the benefit of the doubt that everything they're doing is because they care about that child. It's not an affront to you and your parenting skills.
Just remembering that you guys want the same thing.
Yeah. Those first few weeks, we killed it. I mean, in the partnership department, I was, standing there nursing Sterling while massaging a boob, trying to loosen it, and Eric is packing my wound. That's what's happening at the same time. I'm holding a baby, doing this, and Eric is shoving gauze in my cesarian wound, and that's how we made it for the first 5 weeks.
Changes how and some of the stuff we went through was a little extreme, but even without those things, there's a lot of demand between still having all your regular household things to do, plus this new thing which you got to try to figure out how to keep alive, and the definition of teamwork, it changes. The nature of your teamwork changes quickly.
Yeah.
And there's not really a way to, you kind of prepare for it, but a lot of it's unexpected, and it will bring you closer. It'll definitely bring you closer.
How wonderful it would be, how awesome it would be, how much love I would feel. I mean, hindsight's 20/20, but I really wish we would have started sooner. This is we couldn't have known. There's no way to have known. This is the most wonderful, best experience, the most fun. So for me, I love going to concerts and music festivals, and the moment when the music ends and you don't want it to end, and it's just like that overwhelming excitement and joy, and you're leaving the concert and you're just like, wow, this was so great. I'm gonna remember this forever. It's that feeling over and over and over again.
You're gonna have to make lifestyle changes when you decide to have a kid. I know for myself, I didn't realize how much I would enjoy the lifestyle changes, the different things we were doing, where our time would be spent. Instead of going out to a bar, you're going to, take your kid to Traintown or what have you. And honestly, I'd rather be at Traintown.
Yeah. I'd rather wake up early and hang out with my kid than go out all night.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what part of me wishes that we had done it earlier. It's absolutely worth it. All the scariness and the stress and it's absolutely worth it. It's the best thing that I've ever done. He's my favorite person in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best.
That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll tune in next time for more stories from parents just like you.